I feel like I'm having deja vu right now. We're looking at the MSI R9280X, and this is the Twin Frozr. It's OC. What's OC stand for? It just says OC on the box. I just read boxes. I don't do reviews. I have no idea. I think it stands for ocular cavity, because you're using your ocular cavity. It's overclocked. Boost clock goes up to 1050, and the base clock is at 1000 megahertz. Now, we've seen this card before, and I said I'm having deja vu right now because this is a 7970, guys. Hey, it's a 7970. Now, this is coming. I guess it's coming out to replace the 7950, so it'll fill that slot, but it's really a 7970, so I'm kind of going to compare it to the 7970 to see if it's any faster. Just to give you a hint, it's pretty much the same speed. But I also wanted to mention that you guys can crossfire this with your 7970. Now, the GTX 770 came out, and that was essentially a GTX 680, just with a different sticker on it, but they would not let you run those in SLI. First off, let's go through the specs. Now, we took this thing outside into a rainstorm because the Twin Frozr looks really awesome with beads of water all over it. MSI is going to kill me. That's okay, though, because, graphics cards like water. You should take yours out in the rain and then slap it straight into your system. And I will not take any blame for anybody that shorts out their system. Let's look at the ports on the back. We have one dual-link display port, and that'll support 20x60 by 1440. We have two mini display ports, and this will support 4K displays. And we also have an HDMI port as well. And of course, we do have the mini display port. It's a full-size display port adapter dongle thingy in the box. So it's a Tahiti GPU, just like the 7970. Clock on this one is 1050. Memory clock 6000 megahertz, and this is very easy to overclock using MSI Afterburner. I was able to bump it up to 1100 megahertz without any problem at all. Didn't need to raise the voltages or anything like that. If you want to raise the voltages, well, we do have some military class components there. High quality capacitors. They're all solid capacitors from Japan. And then also the MOSFETs and everything. Just all of it is high quality military grade stuff under the hood. So you're not going to have to worry that much when you're trying to overclock. And also the Twin Frozr. It's a lot cooler and a lot quieter. Now, I do not have a reference card to test this with, but we did some of our own tests, and I'll get to that in just a second. We have 3 gigabytes of GDDR5, or to be exact, 3072 megabytes. Memory bus is 384 bits. Maximum power consumption is 250 watts under full load. Most systems that I've been seeing running this, under full load, with everything going, the systems are pulling 370, 380 watts maybe. So, about the same as the 7970 again. The dimensions of this particular card, 269 by 128 by 34 millimeters, and it's 849 grams. It requires one 6-pin and one 8-pin PCI Express power connector. In the box, we have driver CD, installation guide. It's a big fold-out thing. DVI to VGA dongle. We also have mini DisplayPort to regular DisplayPort dongle. We have a 6-pin power cable and an 8-pin power cable, and we also have our Crossfire bridge with the MSI logo on it. Let's talk a little bit about the Twin Frozr, and then we're going to get to the benchmarks in just a second, and then we'll talk about the Crossfire. I think we'll do that in a separate video because that's going to interest a lot of different people. Now, we do have two 10-centimeter fans on this. They're using their quote-unquote propeller blade technology. It just generates a little bit more airflow than traditional fans, so that's really nice. And they're also really quiet. One of the other things that's nice about this, we have a lot of fins and some nice heat pipes going directly to your CPU core. Now, let's talk about our temperature test. I played Trine, which maxes out the GPU at 100%. I played Trine, and I overclocked it to 1100, and I also played it at 1050. At 1100, we were getting around 81, 82 degrees Celsius. And then again, at 1050, we were getting like 79, possibly hitting 80 here and there. And that is at around 30% fan speed because I like a quiet system and I'm willing to let my components get to around 80 degrees. I usually like to keep it in the 70s. So I might bump that up to like 40, as long as it's not too loud, but it's way quieter already than the stock. And again, I have not tested the stock, so I can't do a direct comparison. I mean, I can read their marketing material if you want me to, but that's not what you guys want, is it? It's way quieter and quite a bit cooler. I'll just tell you that right now. All right, let's talk about a few other key features with the new AMD lineup. Now, AMD has Mantle coming out very soon, and Mantle is pretty much going to be a new API to give hardware-level access to the hardware. Hardware-level access to the graphics card. And it's going to replace DirectX. A lot of new games are going to be taking advantage of it. In fact, Battlefield 4 is the first game that's going to work with the Mantle API, and I don't have a lot of details on it. I just know it's going to be awesome and really fast, and it's going to give AMD a big boost. But it also is an open platform, so NVIDIA may be able to use it if they choose to use it. Also with MSI Afterburner, I'm using a version right now that actually does not recognize the graphics card, but it does work with the graphics card. It just doesn't recognize the name of the card and everything. We use that, easily able to overclock it to 1100 megahertz just by typing in 1100, pressing enter. It didn't change the power or anything, so it's probably going to be pretty easy to go a little bit above 1100 megahertz. I do want to note that they've also added in game capture, so you can record games just from right inside Afterburner. They call it Predator. So you can use Predator to record your games. All right, let's talk about benchmarks. In this video, I'm just going to mention the benchmarks for the R9 280X. And then in the next video, we're going to talk about crossfiring this with a 7970. We'll get into those crossfire results, and then we're going to talk about the frame times, because everyone freaks out about frame times. So first off, Battlefield 4, we're playing the beta, and we're also using beta drivers, 13.11 beta 1. We had to download those specifically for this graphics card. So we're using beta drivers, playing a beta game, probably a stupid thing to do, but what the hell, let's do it anyway. The R9 280X at 1080p averaged 55.92 frames per second. At 1440p, we got an average of 42.48 frames per second, and it did not drop down that low, so it was pretty smooth the entire time we were playing it, even at 1440p, and we were running this game all on ultra settings, so completely maxed out on ultra. I guess we should tell you what the rest of the system is. We're running this in an AMD 8-core 8350 based system. It's overclocked to 4.5 gigahertz, and a lot of you guys will be doing that. What's that? 4.6. It's Pistol's PC. 4.6 gigahertz to be exact. We've got 32 gigabytes of Kingston Beast memory, an ADATA SX 900 SSD. That's a 256 gigabyte SSD for the OS, and then a 3 terabyte Seagate hard drive for storage, Sigmatech 850 watt power supply. And we'll put all the links to all the parts that we used for our test system in the description. BioShock Infinite, played at the maximum settings, DirectX 11, full depth of field, everything turned as high as it will go. And we only benchmark this at 1440p because it's so freaking fast. At 1440p with everything maxed, 45.08 frames per second. Skyrim. Now with this one, we tested it with 150 mods, and we're using Project ENB at the highest possible quality settings. It absolutely is a destroyer of worlds when you turn it up that high. It's ridiculous. But we wanted to see how it would run. Completely ridiculous Skyrim. Because if you're going to be playing Skyrim on PC, you better play it this way. The R9 280X at 1080p, 49.56 frames per second. At 1440p, 40.64 frames per second. We did have some stuttering, and you may want to check out the frame time video. It was a little rough. This is one of the roughest games. This is in Battlefield 4, but all the rest of them are pretty good. Trine 2. The maximum settings with all the filters turned all the way up at 1080p, 79.04 frames per second. At 1440p, 47.12 frames per second. I also want to note that Trine had some really good frame times. All right, let's see how this card does with OpenCL. Now for our OpenCL benchmark, I used LuxMark. We didn't go into Adobe Premiere or anything like that. We just used LuxMark because it'll give you just a raw number as a guideline. It's also an open source program. So let's check out what this did. And I'm going to compare it to several different graphics cards to give you an idea. This one, the R9 280X from MSI, scored 2516, and that's clocked at 1050. The 7970 at the stock clock, now this is not the gigahertz edition, we were just using a stock clock one at 925 megahertz, 2389. I do want to note that if you bring the clock speed up to 1050 or 1100, it's going to be basically the exact same score as the R9 280X. However, you can crossfire these two cards. So when we crossfire both of these cards, we scored 4,612. And for reference, I wanted to put this up against the GTX 780 that I have in my machine, and that one scored 1257. Those cards are not made for OpenCL. They are very good with CUDA, but a lot of programs prefer OpenCL, some prefer CUDA. I personally prefer OpenCL, especially when I'm doing editing or any kind of productivity. If the program supports it, I would rather use OpenCL, but I'm using CUDA for Premiere on my machine because I love the 780, but I may switch to a 290. I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens. Next, what you guys need to do is check out our video on the benchmarks that we compare this card to a 7970, see exactly what the differences are, and we've got the 7970 overclocked. And we're also going to run this in Crossfire, and then we're going to give you guys the frame time report. I actually woke Wendell up last night in the middle of the night and said, hey, let's talk through these frame times. So yeah, he's going to be in that video. So check out that video, and if you guys have any questions, you can always check out the forum. And if you want to like find some pricing on this, you can just click on the screen right here on the bottom of the screen, and it'll take you to our website where you can get the latest prices. Some people are like, why don't you say prices in the videos? Prices change over time, so if you're watching this in the future, hello from the past. Just click right here and you'll see what the latest prices are. All right, I'll see you guys next time.